Editing Coda here. Just wanted to say sorry for our voices. We are both afflicted by some form of Nurgle's plagues. But yeah, please pardon our coughs and sniffles and icks. I'm Coda.
And I have a hard job ahead of me today. Start the innuendo counter because the Dark Eldar won.
The innuendo counter?
Yes, there's going to be an innuendo counter for this because
is this going to be a fun one? Are we going to be dodging restrictions this episode?
Mm-hmm. And I did, yeah, and I did a fantastic job. I danced around everything perfectly, but it's still the most effort I've put in a while.
From everything you have hinted at with the Dark Eldar, yeah, I can see it.
But before we begin that very delicate dance around all the things the omnissiah loves and hates, it's time for a new poll, a new chapter, you could say. With the options being the Legion of the Damned, the Minotaurs, the Crimson Fists, and the Celestial Lions.
The chapter.
The chapter. Yep.
I see.
3 get made, 1 gets cut off and winds up in the loser bracket with the Tau. You know how this works by now. You sound off.
Poor Tau.
Yeah, well, they'll probably make it out. Nobody ever stays there as long as the Dark Eldar did. They held it down.
That they were.
Sound off by voting in the comments. You can vote for something. You can vote against something. I won't lie. There's a lot of negative votes for the Tau, but there's also just as many for the Dark Eldar. It was very interesting. It was a race to the bottom this time. It was very amusing. We also have a Patreon where you can get a bonus episode every single week, as well as access to the Discord, community days, a bunch of other perks, as well as probably the uncensored version of this video. If not the uncensored video, at least one that's more graphic. I don't know. Who knows? Let's get into the Dark Eldar. Let's starting with their finest creation, Slaanesh.
Yup.
Yep. Where to start with Slaanesh? Well,
can we even start?
Well, we can start with Slaanesh. They're the reasons we're wearing the colors we're wearing right now, is what I'm gonna say. I thought
their colors were bright pink and purple.
Yes, but in our world there is a certain, no, I won't bother.
Oh, God.
The Chaos Gods are best described, in my opinion, as constants. There are these. How did you not see this coming? Hold on. Really? You didn't piece this together for the Dark Eldar episode? Took you until just now to figure this. Really?
To be fair, you're not wearing the right color of orange.
Yes, but after color correction, I will be. I chose this one specifically.
God.
Yup. I did my homework. Anyway, the Chaos Gods, in my opinion, are best described as constants. These things that kind of have no beginning or end, and they've always been there, Gravity doesn't have a... Starting in Thursday of 1842, we suddenly started sticking to the ground, It's just kind of always been there.
But no, gravity was invented when Isaac Newton, I don't know, had an apple fall on his head or something, right?
Yeah.
That's how the story goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Until then, we were just floating around.
The best way to see how they operate like constants is to let's just take a quick look at the one who's most recently cursed us, Nurgle. He's the god of pestilence, and his garden... I'm going to rip a little bit from fantasy here because it's such a good description, is described as a wallowing swamp of black stars and dying worlds.
That's such a very good description.
Right? Rotting galaxies alive with immense, writhing shapes the size of nebulas, cosmic maggots gnawing at the roots of infinity. There are galactic plagues eating away at the very flesh of existence, reducing all that was to leprous ruin in their unending hunger.
Leprous ruin?
Yes.
That's such a visceral image right there.
Do you see why I went with it? It's fantasy, but it works.
It works.
Yeah, it is.
To be fair, aren't they... They're not the same.
Nope. I'm not taking that bait. Okay. We're not doing that.
Okay.
He is despair. He is stagnation. He is the end and the death. But, despite being a very smelly cloud, he does have a silver lining. And this goes for all the Chaos Gods. Nurgle's is love and true acceptance.
He loves you just as you are.
As you are, verbatim right now, don't you dare hit the gym. It's that level.
It's even more significant. Don't you ever change. Every thought in your head, keep that one.
Yep. No.
That's the best one.
First thought, best thought. Don't even bother leaving bed. Everything outside sucks anyhow. Nobody really cares about you, but Nurgle does. It's the kind of love that truly requires nothing out of you and just asks that you persist in spite of the quite literal heaps of excrement all around you. Yeah. It sounds utterly revolting to you and I because obviously, I mean, like, we like you. I'm infinitely grateful for all of you. There's a reason I say it in every single episode. But in 40K, nobody cares, man.
No.
You are a number, if that.
You can tolerate, you can cope with the excrement all around you because at least somebody loves me.
It's better. That is honestly better than, oh, I looked a little weird. I guess I'm getting crammed into that guy who doesn't want to be a god. Whoops. This is just happening.
Yep.
There is a real, genuine case for your average Joe truly being unloved. And even if you are loved, boy, howdy. Cornate raid. Like, let's see your grandma deal with that one, buddy. You know?
I don't know if that's not an ideal situation.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like, relative to that, yeah, sure. Nurgle's a local porta potty pilferer. But at least he knows my name.
Ick.
And he'll at least defend me from that psycho with a chainsaw. So I will take it. And that applies from all of the Chaos Gods. Slaanesh is the only one that really begins to toy with that status they have as being a constant. Because Slaanesh has a birthday.
Oh, wow.
Like
what is it?
There's a time...
What's their sign?
Oh, we're not getting into that either. There was a time before Slaanesh. In fact, we have it on 20-year-old quasi-probably canon account that Slaanesh not only did not exist yet, but Khorne was actively dropping everything and putting his full back into preventing his sibling's birth.
Like he knew Slaanesh was coming and said, nope.
And it really messes with the whole always have been, always will be thing.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they have existed kind of like, you know, there's one, I can't remember what fantasy universe does this, where like technically all gods are constant. It just takes enough faith in them to like actually like increase their power to the point where they're an intelligent being.
Oh, we'll get to those rules. Because those rules apply here too.
Yeah.
But in this case, Slaanesh did not exist, and we will get to what Khorne is doing to prevent that, maybe, later. All right, for now, we need to get into...
I imagine it involves a lot of castrations.
Just remember all that is happening in the background. Just remember all that is happening in the background as we go over the fall of the Eldar. Before the Slaaneshi business got its start, the Eldar were on a hot streak.
Yeah, they won, didn't they?
Yeah, they won something called the War in Heaven, which is my favorite.
A win by technicality, I might add.
No, they won.
Didn't the Necrons fall asleep?
They had to sleep to hide from them.
Fair enough.
That's a victory. They were... The War in Heaven is one of those things that is of infinite importance and infinite unimportance at the same time. However... wherever it happens to land, it has such a fun name. It's a really good name. Yes, and
I can see why Stellaris stole it.
And at this point in history, the Eldar have everyone on the ropes. Every other faction. It is to the point that if you look through, like, because the Eldar do keep pretty good accounts of history. If you look at Eldar history at that time, they didn't bother to name the other, like, factions, the other races. It was just the Eldar, the barbarian clans. That is how far up they were.
This is very Rome coded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, beyond Rome. They had every difficulty in check. Death, irrelevant. Disease, gone. Transport, done. Which, that one sounds mild until you remember in 40K, transport is a real hassle.
Yeah.
You can go insane trying to get to, like, Chicago, let's say. Like, you get on a train, the sky goes purple, there's howling everywhere, and you either make it...
Or you don't.
Or you don't. Or you make it in, like, 2100. And you don't have to deal with that.
Or you make it and you have 2,100 arms.
Yeah. It's really, really difficult. And it wasn't even just everything in the material plane couldn't stop them. Even chaos couldn't touch them. The Eldar had their own pantheon they worshipped just to nerf the chaos gods. Because constant though they may be, those emotions are still there. They follow my favorite rules for deities, which is celebrity rules, baby. Which, we're just going to use the Kardashians here. They're utterly powerless.
Oh.
Unremarkable even.
Are we going to call the Kardashians God in this video?
If you stop paying attention to them, they behave that way. Because if everyone simultaneously says, I'm not going to look at the next thing they post, they're done. That's it. It's over. It's finished. It's done. And that goes for pretty much every celebrity to a certain point, right? Conversely, if you give any random person on the street enough eyes, they can become a whole thing, man.
Oh, yeah.
It can become a whole thing. And that's the nice thing about YouTube. You've gotten to see that happen quite a bit, where it's like
some Randy who has just one thing that they do very well, and then all of a sudden they have every single eye on them going, whoa.
And like, it has a tangible effect on it has a real, noticeable, trackable effect on reality. Taylor Swift can invigorate an economy by showing up somewhere. She's done that before.
Yeah.
Every place her tour has stopped, the economy was a noticeable uptick.
Yeah.
And people were celebrating it only because people pay attention to her.
Yeah. And they follow her around.
That is it. That is it. And the gods in 40K follow the exact same rules. And these are my favorite rules for any deity ever. We're vastly oversimplifying here. But yeah,
that's generally how it works.
Yeah. Effectively, if you give people, no, not really, your eyes, worship, whatever, it will power them up.
You're doing it right now.
Yeah, you are. Little do you know, there's a golden throne behind that backdrop, and just give it a few years.
There's a golden plaque behind the silver plaque. It just needs more eyes to appear.
Yeah, I think so. The Eldar discovered you can't really stifle the emotions that the chaos gods represent. What you can do is you can just move it into other objects, giving it a different outlet, their own outlet, which has a very real effect of weakening the chaos gods. They had it all. They were on top of it. They had their own pantheon. Things were great. Things were fantastic. And if anything, they were at the point where manual labor was a foreign concept to them. Their wars were waged by automata. And if they had to get involved, they would basically orbitally bombard something with magic and then walk away.
We were in prime, prissy, holier than thou elf territory.
They were up. There's literally no other way to describe. They were up.
Yeah.
But what goes up must come down.
Yeah.
And oh boy, did they come down.
40K seems to have many great equalizers in it. And they seem to get hit with the greatest of equalizers.
Yes, they fell into the deepest depths of depravity, because a life with no real hazards, no real struggles is boring. It is, again, I love to use the example of, because we've all done this. You've beaten a video game. Congratulations. You have every incantation. You have every sorcery. Every boss is gone. You collected all the feathers. Good for you. What now?
Well, at this point, you get bored. You New Game Plus, and then you slaughter.
The game doesn't have New Game Plus.
Oh, I was going to say.
Start killing NPCs. Things get weird. Or you stop playing the game altogether.
Well, I was going to say that you interrupted me before I was going to get to the part where you slaughter every NPC, take their bell bearings, and become them.
Those are the two options. And side note, the struggle does have to be proportional. Because I know there are people out there who are like, whoa, you know? And if the struggle isn't proportional, you can rubber band back to what is the point of it all, you know? Once you beat the video game, you can get to what is the point of it all. If the video game is impossible, you can get to what is the point of it all. Yeah.
Either way, you end up in the same place.
They wound up there because, what's the point when you're winning as hard as they were winning? And so they took it upon themselves to add challenges to their lives, to make more entertainment, things that had never, and honestly will never be seen again. beginning slowly with things like S&M, the hit song by Rihanna.
And yes.
Just that.
Just that.
Yes. To Folsom,
Nothing else.
the city in California, and just that. Before leaping to levels I frankly can't describe here. YouTube is nice to me. I'm going to be nice back. So instead of mentioning everything that we're getting up to, I will just make a list of random objects, tools, and vaguely popular music that can be found in your day-to-day life. Again, unrelated.
Okay.
Right? So we have potato peelers, meat tenderizers, staplers, live fire ant colonies, dentists armed with wrenches, poison ivy wrapped around a suspiciously small rock,
Cylinder.
the galaxy's entire supply of purple dye and latex, a dog leg reamer, ye old artificial leech, a 1500s bullet extractor, a circumcision karambit, a rusty écraseur, whatever happens at 2 minutes and 9 seconds of you ain't even know it, and most medical instruments from the era where anesthesia was considered optional. It's a lot. It's, in a word, excess. So much so that the Eldar began to dream of a sleeping entity stirring.
I wonder who this is.
And as
I wonder what all of these unrelated items would awaken.
like I said, completely unrelated. And as it stirs, the cracks begin to form, and the birth of Slaanesh happens. Which is when it doesn't just hit the fan, it shatters it.
This is what happens when the fan is submerged in it.
There's no fan. It's destroyed. It's gone, effectively. It's before Slaanesh is born, there are some Eldar who see the way the wind is blowing, and they go, I'm going to go do manual labor over this.
I'm gonna go.
I'm just going to go to a corner and plow a field.
I'm gonna leave.
Yes, they go full Quaker to deal with it.
They don't go full Quaker. They go full They go full Mennonite. They go full, like, I'm going to, oh God. How am I not remembering the name of the people who eschew all technology? Amish. They go full Amish.
Yes. Others just try to run away, stalk, and the topic of today's episode just doubles and triples down.
Because why not?
Throwing everything but the kitchen sink into their efforts. And the whole time...
Are you sure they don't throw the kitchen sink into their efforts?
It didn't fit.
And
the whole time, we have this fantastic description of Khorne holding Slaanesh in a death grip. It's described by... This is written by an in-canon actual madman. I can't put a big enough grain of salt on this, but it's so...
Unreliable narration is fun.
It's said that Khorne, the oldest of the gods with armies that stretch from infinity to infinity, is holding that thing from being born and stalling for time just so those in the material world can get their act together. Discipline incarnate is effectively compressing Slaanesh down.
Trying to.
And all it does is build the pressure.
It's so funny that the person telling everybody to get their volumetrically compress themselves is Khorne.
Yes, and as he's compressing it more and more, the pressure's going higher and higher, and insanity just starts breaking out on random worlds. Storms start engulfing entire swaths of the galaxy, and it's described that as he's just barely holding this together, fire begins to lash his back, freezing winds tear his face apart, and poison floods him, and the whole time Khorne still holds on.
He does have discipline, I'll give him that.
Yeah, gotta remember, he does have his silver linings. When this man says, I will do this, he is doing it.
He's doing it.
It's so bad that Nurgle has to walk in and go, give up.
Dude, it's not your game.
Dude. Please,
come on. It's dinner time.
Morals decay, cultures rot. Mortals will never change. Stop trying to make them. And Khorne just grips tighter. Tzeentch shows up as well and tells him that Tzeentch's change is inevitable. Like, come on. So Tzeentch is of the Tzeentch kind of breaks canon here and goes, The great game needs 4 of us. Period. And whether it's now, whether it's later, they're gonna show up. Stop trying to prevent
Zinj
this.
literally just like pats him on the shoulder and says, "Listen, we're not the powers in this galaxy. G-Dub is."
I love Zinj because he's the only one who could like genuinely talk to James in his workshop and it'd be like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. And still, Khorne holds on to the point that it's described the foundations of all that is, all that was, and all that will be rumbles. Yeah.
He was staring at the depths below Tartarus and going,
No, he's holding the whole time with pressure building and building and building until this moment of silence. All wars stop. The 3 major powers of chaos wane for a moment, and then everything changes. Khorne is described as being nearly crushed as Slaanesh bursts into the scene in all their definitely not safe for work glory. A new hole is punched into reality, and 9 and 10 Eldar immediately die. There is nothing you can do about it. They immediately perish swiftly.
9 and 10 Eldar agree. Ugh.
Mm-hmm. And for those that happen to survive, some are half stuck in the warp, mentally speaking.
Oh God, that sounds awful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And with the birth of Slaanesh, the pressure was finally released, and all the storms quiet down. Everything just like abates in that moment afterwards, conveniently allowing some gold fellow on Earth to start this whole crusade. Won't be relevant, but yeah, that's why that happened.
That doesn't matter.
It's a human.
It's a human. It doesn't matter.
What could they do to even a fractured Eldar?
The Eldar are the race they call humans Monkai, right?
Oh, do they?
I thought it was
good luck reading an Eldar book without that. And all the Eldar worlds are dead. So little of the Eldar is left after this. So little of the Eldar is left after this.
9 and 10 of them are just gone. Mm-hmm. Instantaneously, you have just created like apocalypse worlds. Mm-hmm. Like the classic. We've all seen pictures of people editing, or we've seen apocalypse movies where it's just empty freeway with scattered cars. That's the Eldar now.
Mm-hmm. And this is when the Dark Eldar, as we know them, are born. Quick note, because I know some of you guys are real knowledgeable and fantastic. The keen-eyed among you will know that is another fantasy thing. By technicality.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's one of those few moments where Chaos and 40K like pass by each other. Just for like a brief moment. There's just this brief moment where both of them just, and then it keeps on going. And Chaos is consistent enough between the two realms that I feel comfortable using that. Is it canon? Is it a great description? Mm-hmm. And so I'll go with it. Plus, it adds a lot of fuel into the fire of the whole like Khorne, Khaine, and Slaanesh thing. Because when Slaanesh was born, they killed the entire Eldar pantheon.
They're just gone, snapped, gone out of existence.
The Eldar pantheon gone, and their god of war, Khaine, is described as shattering in this moment. And in that excerpt, what is Khorne described as doing in the very end?
Is he picking up the pieces?
Shattering.
He shatters too?
Yes. And Khaine, towards the end of it, like in canon, Khaine realized that there was nothing to be done here and was the most active, like, no, stop. What are you doing? No, stop. What are you doing? You do what? And then Slaanesh was born.
And shatter.
Yeah, and then Sky Purple. And so any extra fire added to that inevitable episode. Also, it should be noted that Khorne just ran away with Khaine. So
he was picking up the pieces.
I love it so much. There's so much to the whole Khorne, Khaine, Slaanesh. It could be its own episode.
He wants to reassemble the Elden Khaine.
Still, it's dubiously canon and only kind of fuels certain fires. It was sent in by a Dark Eldar fan, and so I do quite like it. So it's just another thing that, again, I like highlighting old pieces of 40K that, dude.
It may not be canon, but it was...
It's definitely not canon, but nobody has come out and said it's not canon yet. Therefore, it's in this weird limbo, and there's quite a few things that occupy that weird limbo. And I'm a fan of that weird limbo.
It could be canon, and it's really cool.
But it's definitely not.
Well, it's definitely
And
not.
also, as an aside, yes, that is true. Like, Dark Eldar fans got so sick of being in the losers bracket, they started sending stuff in to the email. Yeah, they went above and beyond. It's why I love them, despite what they use ice cream scoopers for. Now, let's get into them. Yeah. Yep. The ones that are left at this point can feel this collar around their necks, and the innate knowledge that it is tugging them towards Slaanesh's fungin.
Why would you describe that as a fungin?
Because it's the only way I can describe it, man. Work with me here.
Icky.
This is a problem that must be solved, and the Dark Eldar discovered that by doing the stuff that Slaanesh is into, they get a little bit of slack on that collar. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit of freedom of movement.
Mm-hmm. And
just a skosh.
The more they do, the more slack they get. You can see where this is going, right?
Yeah.
Not only does this grant them a little bit of slack from She Who Thirsts, it also rejuvenates them. Like any Dark Eldar who are slowing and weakening, the moment they inflict the worst pain imaginable on someone else, they immediately come back.
They realize that the fountain of youth is just a fountain of human suffering.
Not just human, necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And so
there are other things in the galaxy, yeah.
Yeah, you take their really long lives and you add in this rejuvenation, and suddenly you have a bunch of functionally immortal sadists. Pain is quite literally the best medicine, and there's a good reason why in canon you want to die about 100 times over before a Dark Eldar person captures you.
These are 40k's own personal Cenobites, aren't they?
Yep. Yeah. And if heaven forbid they capture you, you will get shipped right to the Dark City.
I already don't like this.
Yes, it is a place wedged between realities.
Well, wedged between... How'd it get there?
It's in the Webway.
That'd do it. That'd do it. That is a place between realities.
It's a place of depravity since before Slaanesh's birth. It was a port town.
This was the Eldar's own personal red light district in the Webway.
It's kind of like a Venice situation where it's a port town where everyone needs to pass through it. Therefore, just by levying a couple of tariffs here and there, they get stupid rich. They can get stupid rich. And so it grew into this... It had enough capital to start expanding in every direction all at once. A habit it continues to this day.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And the other Eldar have done nothing about this?
The hell? You must remember, the Dark Eldar are, I think, the most numerous of all of them.
They're the majority?
The Dark Eldar don't go around calling each other the Dark Eldar. They call each other the Eldar. Like, Commorragh is one of the oldest points in the galaxy. Period. It was doing this stuff before Slaanesh. Slaanesh was born. They still kept doing it.
I can see why some people in the galaxy would have a bad impression of them then.
Mm-hmm. It is the scale, the sheer scale of the Dark City cannot be undersold. It is its own episode. It's got architecture that is completely incomprehensible. Any piece of art you see about this place will look like fractals.
And it is a fractal.
Mm-hmm.
Just an infinitely repeating structure.
It is expanding in every possible way at any given moment. It is home to the single most advanced medical facilities in the entire galaxy. They can fix anything.
But what do they use that for?
Well, there's a scene, genuinely, sometimes, for good. There's a guy who works out a deal with them, and he sometimes comes in. They fully disassemble him. I'm talking like an exploded diagram. And give him a full service before, like, replacing every fluid in his body, and then reassembling him.
They're his body mechanics?
Mm-hmm. It is like, how do I put this? There's no way for me to put it.
There's no way for you to put it.
No, there's no way for me to put it, so I won't say it.
Oh.
I won't say it.
I was... Is body mechanics not good enough?
Well, the scene itself is... Let's just say the mechanics are handy in other ways.
Oh.
Moving on.
Oh.
They are so advanced, they have raided whole worlds with gene stealer cults and taken them like home with them and just scanned them and gone, oh, no, there's a cult here. Moving on. It's not even a problem for
They can, at a glance, figure out gene stealers?
It's not even an inconvenience. In fact, it's become a fashion statement. The moment they spot one, they're like, cool, pull them to the side, fill them with growth hormones, and then just remove the bits we need, and we can have new appendages. This is neat. This is cool.
This is my pet gene stealer.
Mm-hmm.
He's a purebred.
Yeah. Yes. To them, having a gene stealer part it's a fashion statement.
It's like having a Shih Tzu in a bag.
Mm-hmm. They will always get away with it. Always get away with it.
Huh.
You will sooner suffer the consequences of their actions than they will. They are so medically advanced that with the Emperor wasting away on the Golden Throne, there was a genuine movement to ship an Eldar doctor in. Because maybe they could figure it out.
Maybe.
Yeah. No.
Did they?
They went on a rampage.
That yeah, about as well as I expected.
Yeah. We will get to the absolute highs of Dark Eldar medicine, but what I will say is there has been a rather high up Dark Eldar who has looked at the new Marines that are currently flooding everything and just gone, that's very cute. It's very cute. I see what you're going for. It's the best you can do.
It's how quaint.
Exactly. They're that good at flesh crafting is what they call it.
The new hit voxel-based game Fleshcraft.
Mm-hmm. They are the reason the Hippocratic Oath exists, because their doctors do nothing but harm. You must understand, over here, Doctors Without Borders is very touching. It's very admirable even, right? Dark Eldar Doctors with No Borders?
Oh, God.
Please respect my sovereign borders. If not that, my personal ones at least.
And they're going to violate both.
Yes. It is not just the medical staff that's completely unhinged, though. Everyone is unhinged. The way they pass time here is Mortal Kombat. It's been described, you can see the teenagers like riding jet bikes across like the twisted skyline of the city, and people having like, that one shot of Duel of the Fates, right? That's just happening sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you'll go to Dark Eldar Costco and you'll see like the two kids doing that. You're like, I don't know, look at them.
Oh, look at them go.
Look at them go.
Little scamps.
Yeah. The Dark City is huge. Whole deployments of guards have been taken against their will. They've drained hive cities.
Drained?
Mm-hmm. The only way anyone here winds up here is usually against their will. At one point, the city contained 10,000 orcs as captives.
As captives?
Mm-hmm.
Not a law.
Nope.
Captives.
Entertainment.
Because
they feed them into gladiator pits, and the gladiators aren't just the I will rip you apart type. They are dancers. They are gymnasts. It's like Cirque du Soleil with extra knives. There's this one shot I love of this Dark Eldar witch like pirouetting in the air, and she's got this long ponytail with blades in it.
She's got the razor whip in her ponytail?
She is beauty. She is grace. She will kill me.
The hot new fashion statement, just putting razor blades in your ponytail.
No, these are not like razor blades. These are like meat cleavers. Like there's weight to them. It's so funny. Like and as they're dancing on this stage, it is perpetually lit by multiple suns.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Right? Stars the Dark Eldar stole from other civilizations.
Stole?
Yep.
Stole?
Yep. They just rolled up, took their sun, and I hope you don't freeze to death. Spoiler alert, they all froze to death.
Yeah.
It would take multiple planets to catch up to what the Dark City is. And that is before we get into the fact that it is still in the middle of that fast travel network. which means the Dark Eldar can conduct raids across entire systems before you even start writing up the email to your boss letting them know it's happening.
Yeah, because those gates are kind of just in places. They just, doors open, I'm like right in the base of the Golden Throne.
There is one on the moon. Which...
God, they could do so much damage.
That is one of my favorite things when the Eldar, they guide Gilliman, they like help Gilliman get to Earth faster, and they pop out on the moon, and Gilliman goes, "Whoa!
This was here in our backyard this whole time?
How many more of these are there?" I just need to know. I'm asking for a friend, even.
Please?
Yeah.
Please tell me?
No. It's said that when the Dark Eldar raid, and because usually all that's left is security footage, right? It has to be played back at 0.25. They are the strongest and the fastest of the Eldar. And all that might answers to one man who swore to rule the Dark City and went on to do just that.
Vect?
Yes.
Vect. That's their name?
He obviously deserves a episode all to himself. He is, we're going to do a quick and dirty. He rose to power via a convoluted plan, to say the least, that involved capturing Space Marines and baiting an entire Imperial invasion of the Dark City.
He's banking on that. Do they even know how to get into the Webway?
He stole salamanders.
They are determined. Yes, they know how to get into the Webway.
The Imperium's vengeance knew no limits.
Yes.
And the invasion, conveniently, killed everybody who was in charge. As the Imperium does what the Imperium does best, which is just delivering blind vengeance across an entire species. Like, don't spite them. Don't spite them.
Don't.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. If any one faction were to get looked at by the full might of the Imperium, they're done. It's over.
It's over.
Dark Eldar are included on that list, sadly. When the dust settled, though, and they got their vengeance, there was but one person left who could rule. A person who, despite being born a lowly slave in Commorragh, claims to have been there from the fall of the Eldar.
It was this guy. It was just like, Vect, ready to go.
Yeah. And he claims to have seen the birth of Slaanesh. He claims to have been the guy who named the city.
Okay. No. This must be lies.
You say that? But Vect is one of those characters like the Alpha Legion, where there is so much going on at any given moment. There are plans within plans within plans that it's genuinely almost impossible to piece it all together.
So he could have maybe seen it.
Maybe.
Or maybe not.
What we do know for a fact is he has slammed a space Hulk full of demons into the only real threat he had to deal with.
So he pulled an Abaddon against what?
Another member of his own species.
Oh, okay.
Somebody spoke out against him, and he swore that they will taste my blade, to which everyone went, well, yeah, but you're on two other sides of the city. You're not really going to do that. And then a week later, a whole Space Hulk slams down on the opposition's place. And now it's so full of demons, it's still useless to this day.
He dropped a nuke on them.
He mailed someone a black hole for their birthday.
Yeah.
No. That's a different time.
A different
time.
Okay.
He mailed someone a black hole for their birthday.
That wasn't an allegory for the Space Hulk. He mailed someone a black hole.
It ate their realm entirely, wholesale.
That's what black holes do, yes.
Yep. He effectively ordered a Dark Eldar carrier to show up at the next Dark Eldar bikini football match and fire everything it had at one person in the spectator stands. Because they betrayed him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see why I say this guy needs his own episode?
He just sounds so petty. I want to hear more about him.
Well, unfortunately, he's dead.
Oh, well.
Yes, after heroically organizing a stunning and brave defense of the Dark City. He even had a funeral.
Really?
where it was revealed that it was all a ruse, and that he is now something known as a dark muse, literally being reborn in his own funeral.
They are still Eldar. They're going to be prissy art majors.
Oh, you don't even know the half of it. He is reborn in, quote, a perfect...
I love our art majors. That was nothing against you.
Yeah, in a perfect body. And he used his death as nothing but a trust exercise. If you betrayed him, then you were resurrected as well, but as a slave to Vect's will. A thing to play with for all eternity.
So he went and got a makeover and then turned all of his best friends into...
Only the ones that betrayed him.
Oh, okay.
The ones that didn't got resurrected.
Okay.
It was a very spectacular resurrection. It kind of killed everyone who attended the funeral, and then like you were resurrected on a did you betray him or did you not basis.
I see.
Yeah.
This sounds like... This is very culty.
Mm-hmm.
This is very culty.
Mm-hmm. And he has since also started a Dark Eldar civil war as a plan to get back at someone else, and is currently sinking whole sections of the Dark City because demons keep appearing.
As they do.
Mm-hmm. And my personal favorite, he has tortured a man by starting a very compelling story and then just walking out.
It's awful. That's awful.
Mm-hmm.
That's awful.
Mm-hmm.
That is awful.
He arrives writing something called the Dais of Destruction.
Okay, that just kind of sounds cool. What is that?
Hold on, let me see if I can find art. There it is. Oh, look at the Dais of Destruction.
Oh my god. That's such a dramatic name for what it looks like one of the sand skiffs from Star Wars.
This is one of those things that G-Dub likes to pretend isn't real, because if you'll notice, he's being driven around by Playboy models effectively. Like, look at those two.
What?
Those are bunnies.
Oh my god, they are.
And GW kind of likes to pretend that era didn't happen. But yes, do you see how hard my job is? Do you see how hard my job is?
Oh my god. I don't even know if that can make a cameo in the video. Maybe it can.
No, it can. It for sure can.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's funny. That's so funny.
He's so much. He's so excessive. It's great. And the best thing about it is some of the best ways to describe him come from his own mouth. Victims have asked him, why me? To which he responds, why not?
Yup.
Like Vect is he
Why not?
The quote that everyone has heard about Vect is the simple, death is my meat, terror is my wine. And that describes him down to a T. He's horrifying.
Love that so much.
He's maybe the single oldest Eldar in existence, or maybe
Could be.
he's full of it. Maybe he's planned all of this, including the resurrection of a new Eldar god. Maybe he's full of it. Maybe he really is an untouchable Dark Muse, which, by the way, Dark Muse is the physical representation of carnal pleasures and vices. It is not quite a god.
But it's one level below.
You people still make sacrifices and pray to you.
He's demigod at least.
If he's telling the truth. There
Yeah.
have only ever been 6 of them, unless he is, which then there would be 7. But those are all questions for another day. Because now it's time we enter our final chapter, which is a day in the life of the Dark Eldar.
So this is going to be awful.
They're doing exactly what you think they're doing.
I figured.
I'm kind of at the end of my rope here. I don't know how much I can keep covered up.
Half of what they are doing is probably undescribable here.
They're vampires, but somehow more terrifying. They do everything in full bodysuits, and they make you want to die 100 times over before you get turned into them. It's even with the galaxy ripped in half, and Commorragh did take some damage from that.
Yeah.
It emboldened them.
Ah.
Now more than ever, they're making more and more raids.
Is this out of, oh God, we need to save our souls? Slaanesh is closer than ever, or out of a, there's more chaos.
Some of column A, some of column B. Some are getting so paranoid that they've resorted to, this is a sentence I didn't think I'd ever say, freeze drying their slaves so that they're prepared in case hard times come.
Yep.
Which is just...
That's a sentence.
Dude.
That is a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Freeze drying, you say?
Yep.
That...
Like they're canning doomsday preppers, but with real people.
That is... Yup.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There are things called plagues of glass that are just roaming around.
That sounds awful. Mm-hmm. What is that?
It is a disease that will freeze you in that exact moment. Pure agony. The only way out is by shattering yourself. Fun fact, one of the only ways you can really kill a Dark Eldar.
Shattering them?
Yeah, because the Dark Eldar, like I said, are not just functionally immortal through the whole suffering thing, but they will occasionally like lop a pinky off and leave it at like the local hospital. That way, if they die, they can just be regrown from that pinky and their soul will re-find their body.
I see. Just to escape Slaanesh's clutches, I assume?
Just so I don't die. What do you mean? I'm having a great time. Do you know what I got up to last Tuesday?
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Like, yeah, no, the death, they don't, that is one of the few things they fear. But other than that, they don't really fear anything.
Yeah.
If there's a way I had to summarize the average Dark Eldar, it is truly unbothered.
What's going to get me?
They've assembled a whole tower of flesh just because.
I'm going to get everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that's going to get me.
Yep, you will hear about all the suffering happening in 40k, all the pain, all the futility, the grand scale of the wars waged for the very soul of humanity. There's a lot happening there. And then you have some Dark Eldar in the corner wearing anti-gravity shoes because it reminds them of their favorite bird of prey. And therefore, they will never touch the ground.
I am the apex predator in both ways.
Mm-hmm. yeah, no, exactly. That's terrible, by the way.
Is it not them?
Yeah, it is them. Wow, that's something. Apex Predators. That might be the title for the video. Every other Dark Eldar faction is just coping and seething and molding, trying their best to like, oh no, my culture. Oh no, how will I survive? And these guys are just as far up as they were when Slaanesh was born.
They're just, well, up or down.
No, they are up. This is where we get to the fun of Dark Eldar doctors. They're called Haemonculi. They get up to some funny stuff. There's a guy who made it his hobby to create a virus that would make your skeleton sentient. Which, I mean, imagine you wake up trapped in a dark place. You want to get out, you want to get out, you want to get out. The thing will run out of you.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah.
But that's so funny.
My own skeleton, ribcage and all, can run out screaming because it just woke up inside of me.
That's awful. That sounds horrendous. That's so funny.
Right? there's another guy who turned himself into a sentient pillar of light. Because he can do it and you can't.
Mega rich light bending guy.
And that's how he travels places. He'll just turn into a beam of light and then, traveling at the speed of light, arrive anywhere where he needs to.
He doesn't ship himself by shipping container?
Nope, he just reassembles himself.
That's a shame.
Out of particles of light. There is a real Jurassic Park section of the Dark City.
Just why not?
They are building their own version of the Golden Throne that works.
And isn't falling apart?
Mm-mm. Oh. It's perfectly fine. All they need is a sample of uppercase E. That's all.
Which there's a Drukhari loose on Earth. Maybe.
That is true. There is.
This is probably one of those dominoes that's not going to matter.
Yeah,
the end times will come.
They've stolen whole STCs. Just because.
I assume not even to use, just to keep them away from Mechanicus.
It's because they knew that this STC would save lives. And they're like, no.
No, you can't have that.
No, nothing matters to them. They're truly and utterly unassailable. There's a high-ranking Eldar who created a virus that makes people look perfect and unleashes it on world upon world upon world, which leaves them all looking exactly like him. That's all.
They've got the Horatio.
Of course they have the Horatio. Do you see the appeal of the Dark Eldar?
I do.
There's only one thing they answer to, and it's the purple elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for every second they indulge in the things that buy them time, the things that give them joy, they are unwittingly bathing in Slaanesh's favorite scented body oil. And
I expected you to say bathwater, but okay.
And when they do occasionally slip, Slaanesh is there waiting. And so now I got to turn it over to you. What do you think of the Dark Eldar?
I love the pristine goblin energy. I love the sheer petty. I'm doing this because I want to. I don't have a care in the world. I can't like them 100% because I also know what they get up to in the dark. And I was not lying when I said they are predators in both of the ways. So I like them 50%.
Yeah, the hit Dark Eldar show, To Be Caught by a Predator. Terrible. They're genuinely the closest thing. It's just Chris Hansen running for his life. That's all. It's like 6 seasons of that.
Oh my
that's
God.
So bad.
Awful.
No, the Dark Eldar are so genuinely mustache twirlingly bad. Yeah. They are the closest things to the canon villains of 40K.
Yeah.
But also there's a lot of humor to be found in them.
Yeah. I mean, with the mustache twirling, there is still some fun. I mean, they're the equivalent of like the one Scooby-Doo movie with Mr. Dick Dastardly. Please, my friends call me Dick.
My favorite thing is also the Dark Eldar create some unintentionally hilarious art because, for a society to function, there are boring jobs. Even if it's like a room full of super sadists, like people still need to like do paperwork, right?
There's still the bodily fluid mopper.
Not even that. I'm talking
Really?
like paper pushers.
Paper pushers?
Because my favorite piece of art, and I'll see if I can find it and send it to you, for the Dark Eldar, is this, and it's really horrifying. It's like rows of humans being processed, like in chains being led into Commorragh, right?
Fun.
And there is this Dark Eldar lady with like a tablet just like going through like yep, right? Like the typical like horrific processing center, but like for people, right? But because it's the Dark Eldar, she's wearing basically nothing. So she looks hot while doing paperwork. And I can only imagine that is how the rest of Dark Eldar society barely functions. Like the default, like the way the default in like the American workplace is like jeans and a shirt? For them, it's like a crop top and chaps. Or like that is the default for the Eldar workplace. Like you will get written up by HR if you show up with too much skin covered. Like, there's just so many places this can logically go. And there are so many fun bits of art.
The warehouse guys are all wearing gimp suits.
Yeah. You figured out the Dark Eldar's gimmick. And they're also one of those things where GW doesn't touch them very often, like all things Slaanesh-y, because, good luck marketing that.
Yeah. GW seems to be wanting to move it in a more gen pop direction, which I can respect. They're a business. They want to make money. And gen pop has a lot of money. But I can see how this would not appeal to...
And by the way, I made it very humorous. I made it very lighthearted. But there's some genuinely dark stuff with the Dark Eldar. And some of it isn't like the typical, because 40K grim and dark.
The violence and the brutality and the grim is so grim that it's to almost a comedic, unrealistic degree.
The Dark Eldar can sometimes be very real, kind of grim dark, and it's like,
I don't want to read this.
Yeah, I'd rather not read this. Like there's a lot happening with the Dark Eldar at times, but that does bring an end to this episode.
I was just about to mention, I still love that one. I think what was it, the space sharks who tortured the one Drukhari by just leaving them in an empty room to stare at an empty sky.
That is so important. How could I forget? Because they're so amped all the time. Because
they're cooked. So cooked.
Yes. Yes, because they're always so amped. They're always so overboard. They're always doing the most at any given moment. Like, they will be using a potato peeler and TikTok at the same time. They will be using a potato peeler
and TikTok at the same time, watching somebody using a potato peeler on TikTok.
Yes, no, they with Subway Surfers at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they are so constantly overstimulated that the way you torture a member of the Dark Eldar is you just put them in a sensory deprivation room.
You take the tablet away from the tablet kid.
Yep. You just take the iPad away. And they fold so fast. Like, they change. If you haven't, you should watch the episode we did on the space sharks. It's very good. But they chained this poor guy up in a room with effectively nothing. But like, they just hose him down every now and then. That's it, right? And after traveling with him forever, they finally set him up in this observatory so he could see the outside world. And finally, he's like excited. Oh, thank God! Finally, something. I can see something. And when they open it, they reveal they've angled their ship so they're pointing out in the space beyond the Milky Way, where there's truly nothing, just blackness, and it makes him cry. He weeps, knowing this is all he'll have to look at forever. Like, they cannot go 5 seconds without it.
I need stimulation immediately. Give me TikTok. Give me YouTube Shorts.
Constantly. Commorragh is one of those cities where there's just always something happening.
They're so cooked.
Mile a minute.
They're so cooked.
But that's part of the fun of
the brain rot in Commorragh has to be insane.
Yeah. Maybe the city will fall and be reborn. Maybe the demons will win. Because, I'll be honest, to Slaanesh, the Dark Eldar are an exquisite dish. So
I have to wonder if this is part of their plan. Like, Slaanesh is they are giving the little bit of letting them off the leash a little bit to make them tastier.
It's been too long.
They're letting the Drukhari season and marinate in their depravity before taking their souls.
I would agree if the moment one died, they didn't just immediately get grabbed. I mean, immediately large hand gone. Just sent away. So, that's just one problem, but
that's a theory. Yeah. It's a theory. It's a theory from a layman. That's the information. That's the something I will posit. I don't know.
Long time coming, but we have finally covered the Dark Eldar, and you're now left with chapters.
How long have they been in the losers bracket?
I think they served 3 tours.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So again, Legion of the Damned, the Minotaurs, the Crimson Fists, and the Celestial Lions. Vote by signing off in the comments. We will see who gets made.
I will say I'm curious about the Minotaurs, but you also mentioned the Celestial Lions recently after they were in some form of a severe beating, weren't they?
Oh God, yes. It's a constant beat down for them.
And I'd love to hear what kind of beating they received.
We will see. As always, thank you so much for tuning into the episode, and thank you for being you.